Hi, everyone. We are Dow Team 5, as you can tell by the slide. Our partner organization was EGLE. We originally had a different opening slide, but we will just push through. So here's our fellows team. Here are all of our full, beautiful faces, not covered by masks. We'd like to thank Professor Sarah Mills for being our advisor. She's from the Graham Institute. Here's a brief agenda of our presentation. We're going to start with background and project objectives, and then get into the three main pillars of our project. Andrew?
All right, thanks, Matt. As Matt mentioned, we partnered with EGLE for our project, and our work really stems from two of their programs. The first program is Fix a Leak Week, which is an initiative in the US EPA Water Sense program, where consumers and water providers are educated on the importance of identifying and fixing plumbing leaks in their homes to reduce water and energy consumption, as well as save money on utility bills. And this took place in Michigan for the first time in March of this year. The second program is the Water Leak Pilot, which is a conservation effort where home water system repairs were completed in Benton Harbor and Highland Park, which are two Michigan communities with aging water infrastructures. And so the focus of our project is really on the water and energy nexus, which can be defined as the overlap and interdependency between water and energy use. And because energy and water systems are so intimately linked, changes in the consumption of one of them will have an impact on the other. And also with extreme weather events such as droughts, in addition to other complex factors, the policy landscape around water and energy is constantly evolving. So after our initial conversations with EGLE, our project was divided into three parts. The first part was to complete a national scan of water and energy nexus policies established in states across the US to try to identify best practice strategies that we can learn from and emulate here in Michigan. And then the second part was to engage stakeholders in Michigan communities to understand the current state of water utility requirements and water loss metrics. And finally, we used water consumption data from utilities as well as the water leak pilot to generate a predictive model that shows probable locations of water leaks in communities, which would assist EGLE in targeting future water repair efforts. So with that, I'll pass it on to Rachel to talk about the national scan.
Okay, so for our national scan, we actually followed the practice of the National Governors Association in dividing it up to these 5 different categories. And we're going to present them to you today with the first being the most commonly found practice out today used by states, and then to the least commonly used practice of climate strategy. So when it comes to funding and financing, we find that states often provide financial incentives through the forms of grants or loans. And these are often used for projects that improve and increase water efficiency and energy efficiency. They'll also provide PACE programs, or in some cases commercial PACE programs, that look to provide finance for water and energy savings as well. And then they also make sure to provide a specific focus to these small utilities through energy saving performance contracting. And when they implement these energy reducing practices with this financing, they're usually able to save millions. In terms of education and technical assistance, many of the states will provide this through workshops and also creating a shared space of best practices that look to make the utilities aware of their impact from their water consumption, and they provide them ways to make changes that they can decrease this impact. They once again will provide their focus on small utilities by providing free training, free software, or also creating a web page that will provide them with information on finances, technical and operating systems, and also managerial help. In addition to that, technical assistance is often provided along with the funding and financing they'll receive from the state as well. So in terms of structural changes, a lot of the states will require water audits, and these audits are used to find leaky infrastructure and also to measure the efficiency improvements. In addition to that, they'll look into the drought that could occur in the future by focusing specifically on the agriculture industry, and they'll enact policies that involve using water wisely, strengthening drought resistance, eliminating water waste, and incentivizing efficiency technologies. And in the third, I should not have gone that. In the third, for climate strategy, most of the states look to quantify and report their emissions related to the water use and reductions that come when they make these efficiency measures. So a lot of states will look to create a tool, like the state of New York has created a tool that does this specifically. And this will allow them to reach their goals, their climate goals that they've set through water conservation and energy conservation at the same time. And with that, I'll pass it off to Wanja.
Thanks. So another part of our program, of our project, was specifically focused on developing a set of guidelines that would help utility managers understand how they can involve their customers in these conservation programs. We did this by reviewing past fixed leak campaigns across the country. We had a conversation with the water utility manager, and we also just did a broad review of community engagement best practice resources. And what I'm going to walk through now are just 4 of the takeaways that we had from that process. The first takeaway is that it's important that utility managers clearly define what they mean when they say that they're interested in community engagement. So are they simply interested in keeping customers informed about what programs are available? Do they actually want to bring them into the decision-making process and allow them to have more of a final say in who or what a program may serve? Another thing that we found was that utility managers should focus on working with other agencies or departments that have a similar mission. So not only does this provide opportunities for collaboration, but it can also allow both parties to access a network of residents who might be interested in or in need of conservation or cost savings programs. The third takeaway is that it is important that utility managers think about how other community benefits can be integrated into conservation programs. So one example of this was a home weatherization program in Connecticut. In this program, the program managers focused on training and hiring young adults in how to complete home repairs. This provided the benefit to the resident who was able to decrease their utility bill, but also provided a job opportunity to the customer or to the workers. And lastly, the most important thing that we came across was the need for utility managers to include very clear language in their programs. What this looks like, one source suggested was instead of saying participating in the program could save you like 1,000 gallons of water over the course of a year, it would be useful to put it in terms of dollars, saying it could save you $20, $30, or $40 off of your water bill over the course of the year. And lastly, it's important that utilities are making sure they're interested in equity, that the resources that they provide are in a language that folks are comfortable with. So one readily available tool that utility managers can use to complete this process is EPA's eDay Screen tool. They can use this. It doesn't require a lot of technical know-how, but they can locate where linguistically isolated populations are within their customer service area, and then start making steps towards providing these populations with resources that will let them know about the benefits of participating in these conservation programs. With that, I'll pass it off to Adam.
Thanks, Wanja. So our team analyzed water usage from over 2,000 homes in Highland Park, and we compared that to the 100 homes that participated in the Fix-A-Leak program. We wanted to see, were there any trends that could help EGLE in the future to identify homes that are more likely to have leaks and which repairs are going to have the biggest impact. And as you might suspect, the homes that use the most water benefited the most from repairs. Pretty intuitive. But other things that we thought might have an impact, such as the age of the home, the assessed value of the home, the size of the home, had no correlation. Now, this could be because Highland Park has very similar housing across the city. This is something we encourage EGLE to continue looking at as they start receiving results from their Benton Harbor project and look at other pilot programs. But the big takeaway is if you are looking to have the biggest impact on reducing water consumption, which then reduces utility bills for customers and the energy impact, is to really focus on the homes that use the most water when you're trying to identify these leaks. And now I'll pass it over to Matt.
Lastly, we just wanted to highlight some of our anticipated impacts. First, we did some research on the Highland Park Fix-A-Leak Week pilot and determined that the projected water savings from that pilot was over 3 million gallons a year, and the associated carbon reduction was 13,000 pounds due to reduced treatment and pumping of that water. Additionally, this is a financial benefit. Customers saved an average of $30 a month. In addition to the benefits from the Fix-A-Leak pilot, we hope that our national policy scan and the recommendations we provide to EGLE can provide a more equitable distribution of financial resources at the water energy nexus in the state of Michigan. And finally, we hope that our identified policies are used by EGLE to fund future water and energy efficiency programs in the state. Lastly, and before we get to questions, we just wanted to acknowledge the Dow Company Foundation and the Dow Fellows Program. Thank you for all of your support And we particularly wanted to give a thank you to Jake Wilkinson from EGLE, who was very helpful throughout this process.
You have questions for the team? Andy in the back.
Is there any way to integrate this work with the effort to try and get lead out of the pipes, make the maximum benefit of analyzing these pipes and fixing the systems?
There definitely is a way to integrate those efforts. A lot of the leaks that happen at households can happen from the lines running to the house, especially in some older communities or communities with older infrastructure, such as Highland Park. So hopefully with some of the new funding provided by the federal government, the state will be able to make headway on this issue.
Great job, guys, first of all. I want to hear your thoughts on the infrastructure bill and how this might influence your work. Because I'm thinking, if I'm a utility manager, and you spoke with a number of utility managers, what are they going to, what should they think about going forward? So think about like all the work you did this past year and just maybe talk about what they should be looking at, what they should be funding.
So this kind of goes along with the state being able to provide a database of these best practices, because a lot of these utilities don't know where they're looking when it comes to these things. So many of the states will look to provide like a shared space of these best practices so that the states basically are guided through this process. They're helped out. They're able to get this, find a way that suits their needs. So yeah, this is a perfect time for this project because there is going to be quite a bit of funding come in where states can use for this and make improvements, but they definitely do need help. And so the states will provide this through a shared local database of these best practices that they look to provide to utilities, either through a website or they're constantly referring it or things like that.
So I'm gonna ask a question of the team. So this is related to what Andy mentioned about the pipes, lead pipes. My understanding is that there are lines between the resources that are within the home itself, right? So you have the lead pipes that are used within the home versus the lines that are used brought to the home. And those have different ownership associated with them, right? Who's responsible for each of those? So in the Fix a Leak and the other programs that you saw, did you see these types of lines? And is there good communication, these divisions, I should say, between the different resources and the needs? So is there an opportunity for these programs to coordinate with each other? Or what are your thoughts kind of on how to actually solve both kind of the external issues and the internal issues with respect to residents?
I guess one of the major issues is a lot of homeowners don't realize they're responsible for that line to their house. So if there's a leak there and it's in their yard, they're responsible financially for it, but they think the water utility is. This program really focused on leaks in the home. So they're looking for, you have a toilet that's leaking, faucets that are leaking, other leaks throughout the home. And a lot of the money that is coming down is to fix those lead pipes that are coming from your mains to your home. But trying to get some of that money to also fix those leaks inside the home, and there's a little bit of a disconnect because the utility managers, they're happy if you're wasting water in your home, as bad as that sounds, because you're paying for it. It's on your side of the meter. So if you have a toilet that's leaking, that's more revenue for them. In a place like Highland Park, where the population's actually decreased, they're under capacity. So actually having more water going through the system helps them to have the funds they need. If everyone became more efficient, essentially they have to up their rates to keep the amount, because it's a lot of fixed cost. It's not as much variable. So there's a lot of issues at play here.
Excellent, thank you. That was awesome, I think. But, oh, go ahead, Jennifer. Here, I think Thank you. Great presentation. So this last question helped clarify something in my mind, which was what kind of leaks you were talking about. Because in
a home I used to live in, there were pinhole leaks in all the water pipes that caused huge damage in the houses after they'd changed some of the chemicals used to kill the germs in the water system. But I wonder if you're talking more about the leaks in the sinks, in the faucets, things like that, whether there's more of a dimension of emissions reduction than we're talking about, because any of those leaks for hot water also leads to greater demands on their hot water heater and things like that. And I don't know if you tried or see a way to try to carve out some of that to increase the positive emission reductions of fixing leaks. Thanks.
It's certainly correct. And honestly, it's just because the data hasn't come in. The pilot just finished this summer, so we don't have a good gauge on how much of the water saved is hot versus just tap water. If we have a better metric on that, we can put a much more accurate gauge on the carbon reduction due to the hot water leak. But you're 100% right.
Excellent. So I think that's it. Let's thank the team again. Thank you very much. Someone-